Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very warm welcome to this Monday, 12th June 2023 morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam discussion. Today we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 8, Text 18. Before we discuss on this verse, let's sing Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe. Jai Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe. Jai Nitai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Jaya Nitai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacarya Stottra Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mathura Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samved Bhaktavrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu Krishne Matirastu Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 8, Text 18. nṛṇāṁ sādhāraṇo dharmaḥ saviśeṣaś yādṛśaḥ śreṇīnāṁ rājarṣīṇāṁ ca dharmaḥ kṛcchreṣu jīvatām. nṛṇāṁ sādhāraṇo dharmaḥ saviśeṣaś yādṛśaḥ śreṇīnāṁ rājarṣīṇāṁ ca dharmaḥ kṛcchreṣu jīvatām. nṛṇāṁ sādhāraṇo dharmaḥ saviśeṣaś yādṛśaḥ śreṇīnāṁ rājarṣīṇāṁ ca dharmaḥ kṛcchreṣu jīvatām. Word by word, nṛṇāṁ of human society, sādhārana general, dharma religious affiliation, saviśeṣaś specific, cha also, yādṛśaḥ as they are, śreṇīnāṁ of the particular three classes, rājarṣīṇāṁ of the saintly royal order, cha also, dharmaḥ occupational duty, kṛcchreṣu in the matter of distressed conditions, jīvatām of the living beings. Translation. Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliations of human society, as well as their specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of the social orders, as well as the administrative royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. The common religion of all classes of human beings, regardless of whosoever and whatsoever one may be, is devotional service. Even the animals may be included in devotional service to the Lord. And the best example is set by Shri Vajrangji or Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Sri Rama. As we have already discussed, even the aborigines and cannibals can also be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord if they happen to be under the guidance of a genuine devotee of the Lord. In the Skanda Purana, there is a narration that a hunter in the jungle became the most enlightened devotee of the Lord by the guidance of Sri Narada Muni. Therefore, devotional service to the Lord can be equally shared by every living being. Religious affiliation, in terms of different countries and cultural circumstances, is obviously not the common religion of the human being. Rather, the basic principle is devotional service. Even if a particular type of religious principles does not recognize the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the followers still have to obey the disciplinary principles laid down by a particular leader. Such a leader of a religious sect is never the supreme leader because such a circumstantial leader comes to the position of leadership after undergoing some penance. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not, however, require to be under disciplinary action to become leader, as we see in the activities of Lord Krishna. The occupational duties of the castes and the orders of society following the principles of livelihood also depend on the principle of devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that a person can achieve the highest perfection of life simply by awarding the results of his occupational duty onto the devotional service of the Lord. People following the principles of devotional service to the Lord can never be put into difficulty, and thus there cannot be any question of apad dharma or religion in distress. As will be explained in this book by the greatest authority, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, there is no religion save and except the devotional service of the Lord, though this may be presented in different forms. Before we discuss on this verse, let us offer some prayers. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namashreshtham Manamapi Shachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Murupurim Madhurim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Adadandastrinam Dante Idam Yachaha Punah Punah Shriman Rupa Padambhojam Dhulisyam Janma Janmani He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 8, Text 18. nṛṇāṁ sādhāraṇo dharmaḥ, saviśeṣaś ca yādṛśaḥ, śreṇīnāṁ, rājarṣīṇāṁ ca, dharmaḥ kṛcchreṣu jīvatām. Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliations of human society, as well as their specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of the social orders, as well as the administrative royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress. So this is the questions being asked by Srila Parikshit Maharaj to Srila Shukadeva Goswami. And we see in all the scriptures, there is the discussion taking place between the pure devotees of the Lord. That is the basis of existence for pure devotees of the Lord. Madgat Prana, their whole life is dedicated to hearing about the Lord, hearing, chanting, and discussing about Krishna and his transcendental pastimes. Therefore, Krishna himself mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Madchitta Madgat Prana. So the Pure devotees of Krishna, their mind is totally absorbed in Krishna, and their life is dedicated in serving Krishna. Madgat prana, bodhayanta parasparam. They are always talking about Krishna to each other. Kathayantascha mam nityam. What are they talking? Krishna Katha. And when are they talking Krishna Katha? Nityam, always. This is the transcendental position of pure devotees of Lord, like Srila Parikshit Maharaj and Srila Shukadeva Goswami, that they are constantly absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord. Ananya Cheta. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Ananya Cheta, Ananya. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. So this Ananya is continuous, constant, always. So every moment, Padam Padam. So when there is every moment, when there is remembrance of the Lord, then there is no Vipadam. Here there is this mention about kṛcchreṣu jīvatām. If you look at the last two words, kṛcchreṣu jīvatām, in the matter of distressed conditions of the living beings. So we see Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, 4 kinds of people come to me. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. And they actually render devotional service unto me. Krishna says, bhajante mam, jana sukritino arjuna. What kind of people come to me? They are the people who are engaging in pious activities. Sukriti. Arto jignasur artharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that the 4 kinds of people who come to me, one is the person who is distressed, arto. So here kṛcchreṣu is mentioned in the matter of distressed conditions. Arto, jignasu, one who is inquisitive, artharthi, one who wants wealth, and jnani, one who is in knowledge. So Krishna mentions 4 kinds of people come to me. Namam dushkritino modha prapadyante naradhama, maya bharata jnana asurim bhavamashita. And Krishna says, 4 kinds of people don't come to me. And what are those 4 kinds of people? Who are unfortunately doing sinful activities. Dushkriti. So there is sukriti and there is dushkriti. Sukriti is pious activities and dushkriti is sinful activities. Namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante. So those kind of people do not surrender unto me, Krishna says. So one is bhajante, one is na prapadyante. One is engaging in loving devotional service, the 4 categories of people, and another 4 category of people are not surrendering to Krishna. So that is namam dushkritino mudha, unfortunately in a foolish state of mind. Why is it a foolish state of mind? Because it is the state where one is being not grateful. And when one is not grateful, one is always in a negative state of mind. Even in the contemporary personal development personal growth industry, people speak about being grateful. Because when we are being grateful, when we have gratitude, immediately we are in a positive state of mind. Immediately. So therefore they say that if someone is going through a state of mind where one is having negative feelings, try and find something that we can be grateful about. Just one thing that you can be grateful about. And it could be as small as I'm taking breath. I'm able to inhale and exhale. Just I'm alive. That is a basic fundamental position for being grateful for. I'm alive because everything else is coming from life. All the other activities we can do because there is life in us, within the body. When the life is not there in the body, nothing can be done. It is dead. So immediately the gratitude can come in. And that gratitude when directed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is devotional service. When we understand the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that everything is going on because of Him. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, that everything is coming from me. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam iti matva. When someone knows this, bhajante mam. Such a person involves in loving devotional service. And how does such a person learn bhava samanvita? The devotional service is done with full emotion. And that is the only thing that the living entity can give to Krishna, because everything else is Krishna's. Except that's why Krishna, it is mentioned, bhava grahi janardana. Murkham vadati vishnaya, dhiram vadati vishnave, ubhavcha samam punyam bhava grahi janardana. It is mentioned in the scriptures that sometimes someone might pronounce the mantras in a wrong way. So instead of saying Om Vishnave Namah, someone might say Om Vishnaya Namah. So Om Vishnaya Namah is not the right way of saying, of offering obeisances to Vishnu. It should be Om Vishnave Namah. But if someone unknowingly is saying the wrong mantra, but has got those feelings for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that, oh Lord, because of you I exist. You are the cause of my existence, and everything that I have belongs to you. If one is saying the mantras with that bhava, with that emotion, with that fervor, then even if the mantras are pronounced wrong, Krishna will accept the mantras. So that is the most important aspect here. And that is real devotional service. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje. So what is the topmost religion? It is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the topmost religion is when we are able to render loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who cannot be seen by the blunt material eyes. Adha krita akshaja. Akshaja is eyes. And adha krita is one who cannot be seen by the blunt material eyes. One whose names cannot be heard by the blunt material ears. One to whom, if we have offered our food and tasting the food, we cannot taste the transcendental taste that is tasted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead without that surrender. We cannot touch the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and feel His divine presence without having that surrender. So all the senses, hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. That is the real devotional service, when the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord of the senses, Hrishik Esha. And that is Srila Narada Muni's definition of bhakti, devotional service. So here, in this verse, Srila Parikshit Maharaj is asking to Srila Shukadeva Goswami to explain the different types of religious principles. So nṛṇāṁ sādhāraṇo dharma. So the first line is saying that what is the sādhārana? Sādhārana means in general, for everyone to do. What is the religious principles for everyone to execute? Yeah. So saviśeṣaś yādṛśaḥ. So he's also asking the specific religious principles according to the śreṇīnāṁ rājarṣīṇāṁ. So he's asking about what is a generic religious principle that everyone has to execute, and then what are the particular religious occupational duty that the different categories of the society has to execute. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that the 4 kinds of different categories within the society, it is created by me. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam. Guna karma vibhagasha. And how is that created? According to guna and karma. Guna is the qualities and karma is the activities. So it is not created according to the birth of the person. It is created according to the qualities and the activities of the person. And therefore, Narad Muni also mentions yed anyatraika drishyeta tat tenaiva vinirdishet. So Sri Narada Muni says that if someone finds that there is a Brahmana quality within a Kshatriya, so a person might be born in a Kshatriya family, but if the person has got Brahmana qualities, then actually he is a Brahmana. Because it is according to the qualities and the activities. It is not according to birth. And therefore there is this Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shumbha Yavana Khasadya Yanyecha Papa Yada Pashraya Ashraya Shuddhyanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Namah. Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse quite a lot, and he has paraphrased that verse in the purport as well. As we have already discussed, even the aborigines and cannibals can also be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord if they happen to be under the guidance of a genuine devotee of the Lord. So that is that verse in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam where it is mentioned about all the different types of Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha. So those are all the categories of human beings who are in a very they are unfortunately in an animalistic state of life because of the way they are situated. They are in that sort of life, but even they can become pure devotees of the Lord. So that is what is mentioned there. Abhira Shumbha Yavana Khasadaya. So all those are the different categories, which are lower categories of human beings. Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shumbha Yavana Khasadaya. Ye Anyecha Papa Yada Pashraya Ashraya. So it is mentioned in that verse that unfortunately one might be in those sinful conditions of life, but if one has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, Apashraya Ashraya, Shuddhyanti Tasmai, immediately they become purified. Why? Prabha Vishnave Namah. Because one has surrendered on to Vishnu Krishna, Apashraya Ashraya. So one who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one immediately becomes purified. That is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Hanumanji. So Hanumanji, even though born in the monkey category of living entity, but he is the greatest devotee of Sri Ram. In terms of the servitude, Dāsya, the best example of Dāsya is Sri Hanuman. So immediately Sri Hanumanji is ready to serve Sri Ram in any way. The only goal of Sri Hanumanji is to serve Sri Ram. There is no other goal. Does not have any other goal other than that. And wherever there is discussion of Sri Ram taking place, Hanumanji is present there. So this is the purity of devotional service of Sri Hanumanji. So this is the example where Srila Prabhupada has said in the purport about this example, how even though Hanumanji is born in the species of monkey, but he is the greatest devotee of Lord Sri Ram. So it does not matter. Even the species of life does not matter as long as one has got that love for the Lord within the heart. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanana Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So we have seen this in Bharat Maharaj's life as well. Bharat Maharaj was in the state of bhava, pure love, just before prema. And somehow or other, he gets attached to the fawn. And because he has got attached to the fawn, and when he's dying, he's thinking about the fawn, he becomes a fawn in the next life, and then he becomes a deer. But even in the life of deer, he was aware of his devotional service to Krishna. And he was going to the places where there were discussions of Krishna taking place. He was listening, even in the life of deer. This is the transcendental position of loving devotional service to the Lord. It cannot be checked in any circumstance. Apratihata. It has no cause. Ahaituki. That is the supreme religious principle, the devotional service, loving devotional service. Save pumsam paro dharmo, yatah bhaktir adhokshaje. So the loving devotional service cannot be done through blunt material senses. It is not possible. Sevon mukhe jivhado swayam eva swarati adha. Atah Shri Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyai. It is mentioned in the scriptures that the name, Krishna's name, Krishna's entourage, Krishna's place of residence, everything related to Krishna cannot be understood by blunt material senses. What do we mean by understood? It means that one cannot get attached to the Lord through blunt material senses. So Krishna says, Mai asakta manapartha yogam yunjam madashrayam asamshayam samagram mam yatha jñāsyasi takshruno. Yatha jñāsyasi. How will you know me? So Krishna says, Mai asakta manapartha. When the mind is attached to the Lord, yogam yunjam madashrayam. One is performing the yoga in association with Krishna. Yunjam, and how? Madashrayam. Surrendering onto Krishna. Then asamshayam samagram mam. So Krishna says, undoubtedly and fully, totally, you will know me. Asamshayam samagram mam yatha jñāsyasi takshruno. So it's amazing that particular verse that Krishna says. So the different qualities that are needed is attachment, the mind being attached to the Lord. What does it mean by the mind being attached to the Lord? The mind is remembering the wonderful pastimes of the Lord. So that is the man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that give your mind to me. So the mind is the most important instrument that we have. There is no other instrument greater than mind in the human form of life. Because the mind, even though the mind, so it is said, Krishna says, Indriyani parani ahur indriyabhya param mana, yo manasasto paro buddhe, yo buddhe paratastu sa. So Krishna says that undoubtedly, O Arjuna, the senses are strong, but stronger than the senses is mind, stronger than the mind is intelligence, and stronger than the intelligence is the real living entity that we are. Everything else is external. The body is external, mind is external, intelligence is external, but our original constitutional position is that we are pure, eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are pure consciousness. That is our original constitutional position, original condition. So the mirror for that consciousness is provided by the mind. And that's why mind is extremely important, sometimes even more important than intelligence, because indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham mana yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschita indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham mana. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that even though a person might try to control the senses strongly, yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschita, but the mind can just take away the senses, capture the senses. Haranti prasabham mana. Haranti means it can just capture the whole working of the senses. And then the senses will just do what the mind says. And the mind is so powerful that mind can, even though intelligence is powerful than mind, but because the mind has got emotional ingredient in it, the emotions can surpass logic, literally. Because logic is very crude. Yes or no. Do or die. different activities. Like So intelligence is based on binary code. Sometimes we can say, like, this is right, this is wrong. You do this, you don't do this. But the mind is based on emotions, and emotions is not binary. Emotions is, and therefore, dharmasya tattvam vihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatasya pantha tarko pratishtat shrutayo bhinna nasha vrishir yasya matam cha bhinnam. Dharmasya tattvam vihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatasya pantha. So this is because, and that's why execution of the dharma is very difficult. What is right and what is wrong depends on the circumstances as well. So we see generally the war should not be fought because it is causing a lot of harm to a lot of innumerable living entities. But in the Mahabharata war, we can say that it was an exceptional circumstance because Sri Krishna tried every way to try to avoid war. He personally went as the messenger of Pandavas to Duryodhana. He personally, he's the supreme personality of Godhead, but he went as a messenger of Pandavas. And he just said that give 5 villages to the 5 Pandavas. He went to such an extent of humility. The supreme personality of Godhead, who is the owner of everything, he goes on behalf of the Pandavas and he says, give 5 villages, 1 village to each Pandava. And the arrogance of the other side is such that, no, I won't even give you a land worth the tip of a needle. That was arrogance. So there was no way out, unfortunately. So that's why the Mahabharata war had to be fought. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsava Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Akarvata Sanjaya, as Shri Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya that what is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra between me, the Kurus, and the Pandavas, the Pandava Sena. So this is here in this particular verse, Srila Parikshit Maharaj is asking about sādhāraṇa dharma, the generic religious principles. So what is the generic religious principle? Every religious principle, the basis of the religious principle should be to develop love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharma svanushtita pumsam vishvakshena kathasuya notpadayat ratim yadi shrama eva hi kevalam. It is mentioned in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that one might execute one's own religious duties very nicely. For example, the Brahmana could execute their Brahmana dharma very nicely. Kshatriya could execute their Kshatriya dharma. Vaishya could execute their Vaishya dharma. So Kshatriyas is to rule and administer. The Vaishyas is to krishi goraksha vanijyam, to do the agriculture, to protect the cows, and to do business. And paricharyatmakam karmam shudra karma swabhavajam. So serving the other 3 classes is the Shudras. And then there is Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Bhira Chumba Yavana Khasadaya. There is all the other categories of living entities as well, who are unfortunately in a sinful condition of life. But whatever be the conditions of life, and whatever be the normal activities that has to be done in those circumstances by those categories of living entities, if by doing those activities, if one is not developing love for Krishna, then unfortunately it is just a hard labor. That is what is mentioned in that verse. Dharma swanushtita pumsam vishvakshena kathasuya notpadye dhratim yadi. So if one is not developing attachment to hear about Krishna, Dharma swanushtita vishvakshena kathasuya notpadye dhratim yadi. Whose katha? Krishna katha. What one is not doing, one is not developing attachment to hear Krishna katha, then it is just a hard labor. Yeah, so this is Vedaisha sarvair ahameva vedyo. Vedanta vid Vedanta kradeva chaha sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishta mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So as Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, he is present in the heart of all the living entities. And from him comes smriti jnanam and apohanam, remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. And of all the Vedas, Krishna is to be known. Vedaisya sarver ahameva vedyam. Vedanta krid Vedanta vid eva chaham. Krishna is the writer of the Vedas. Krishna is the knower of the Vedas. And what is the end of Vedas? It is called Vedanta. The end of Vedas is Upanishad. Upanishad actually has got a meaning which says that when one is sitting near the Guru and hearing from the Guru, that is Upanishad. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is, even Gita is called Gita-Upanishad. Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandana partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdham gitamritam mahat. So it is very beautifully in the Gita Mahatmya Shloka, it is mentioned that all the Upanishads are like the cows. And the milkman is Sri Krishna, Gopalanandana. Partho Vatsa. Arjuna is the calf. So it is said that before one milks the cows, one actually gives the milk to the calf first. Because when the calf milk is given to the calf, the cow becomes really full of love for the calf and profusely provides the milk. So that profuse love for the calf implies that there is profuse generation of milk from the udder of the cow. So very beautiful metaphor given by Srila Shankaracharya in the Gita Mahatmya. He says, Sarvopanishado gavo, all the cows are like the Upanishads. Dugdha Gopalanandana, the milkman is Krishna. And Krishna was actually taking the cows off. Krishna was taking care of the cows in Vrindavan. So it suits very nicely that he is the milkman. Dogdha Gopalanandana. Partho Vatsa. Arjuna is the calf. Sudhir Bhokta. The people who enjoy Bhagavad Gita are the people who are Sudhi. Dhi means intelligence. Sudhi means one who has got good intelligence. Dhiyo yonah prachodayat. So Sudhir Bhokta. So who actually consumes Bhagavad Gita? Who is absorbed in Bhagavad Gita? That is a person who has got good intelligence. And what is the milk? The milk is Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. It is that Amrita. It is the nectar. When one is absorbed in Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one is in an immortal state. The body is already dead. It is an amazing creation that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has created. It is a conglomeration of pure consciousness with dead matter. And the pure consciousness is what is providing life to the dead matter. Otherwise, the body is always dead. If the consciousness is not present, if the Antaranga Shakti of Krishna is not present, the Bahiranga Shakti has got no value. So what is Antaranga Shakti? Antaranga Shakti is, as Krishna says, Mama eva amsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanātana. That is Antaranga Shakti. That is the internal energy of the Lord, that all the living entities are my eternal part and parcels, as Krishna says. Mama eva amsha. Eva. So certainly, all the living entities are my part and parcels. Jiva loka jiva bhute sanātana. Manaha shashrani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. So when there is identification with the mind and the five senses, that is Bahiranga Shakti. That is the external energy of the Lord. So when we are identifying ourselves with the external energy of the Lord, immediately there is struggle in this material universe. Otherwise, there is no struggle at all. And that we can, dharmaḥ kṛcchreṣu jīvatām. if we look at the last line of this verse, Srila Parikshit Maharaj is asking about the religious principles when in the matter of distressed condition. And if someone has got love for the Lord, when there is distressed conditions, one totally surrenders onto the Lord, 100% surrender. Even the pure devotees don't need distress for 100% surrender, but they use distress as an impetus for 1000% surrender, if you want to take it that way, because that 100% surrender is always there. And therefore, that beautiful verse by Srimati Kunti Maharani, Vipada Santo Te Shashvat, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru, Bhavato Darshanam Yat Syat Apunar Bhava Darshanam. So we see in Pandava's life, there were lots and lots of stressful conditions that they were going through. They were staying in a palace that was made of wax and that was burnt, and then they escaped that, and then so many other the life, there were so many stressful conditions, and every time Krishna personally was there with them in those conditions, in those very, very challenging, difficult circumstances. So therefore, Kunti Maharani is saying that if you personally are present during these distressful conditions, then let these conditions happen always. Because when you are present, we see your lotus feet, and when we see your lotus feet, we don't see the eternal cycle of birth and death. Bhavato darshanam yatsyat apunar bhava darshanam. And this is the greatest wonderful situation or in devotional service of the Lord, that one this samashritaye padapallava plavam mahatpadam punyesho murare bhavam buddhi vatsapadam param padam yat vipadam na tesham. So in the material world there is vipada. Vipada is distressful conditions. Every moment, because every moment? Because the whole situation is such that one is accepting something temporary as real. So the body is temporary, but we always think that the body is going to be there eternally. That is where Yudhishthir Maharaj mentions ahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam shesha sthavaram ichanti atashcharya kim param. So Yaksha, who is actually Dharmaraj, who is Yamraj, he is disguised as Yaksha, and he is asking the Pandavas these questions, and he asks this to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and Yudhishthira Maharaj he asks this question: what is the most wonderful thing in this world? So Yudhishthira Maharaj says that at every moment someone is dying, but the person who is living somehow thinks that they'll live forever. Shesha sthavaram ichanti. Or they have this wishful thinking that I will live forever. And why is this wishful thinking happening? Because originally we are eternal. Our original nature is eternal nature. Yeah, but unfortunately in this material world, which is made up of matter, but even in the material world there is spirit. But matter is predominantly seen. That's why we are calling it as material world. Everywhere, whenever we see outside, we have a vehicle of matter. Yantra rudhani maya. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani maya. So Krishna is present in the heart of all the living entities. Where in the heart, hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. And basing on the desires of the living entities, one is getting the vehicle, the type of vehicle that one gets, the material vehicle. So if someone has been really interested in, for example, attached to eating meat, different kinds of meat, then at the time of death, one will think of that, and then next life one can get the best body to eat meat, which could be that of a tiger or a lion. There is no better body to eat meat than that body. So whatever the desire of the living entity, one gets that type of body. And this is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, that he is Anumanta. He is giving permission. He permits. But when one is surrendered onto Krishna, then it is a totally different equation. He is personally taking care. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. Whatever way one is surrendering onto Krishna, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. It's a pure relationship of reciprocity. So if one is one is engaged in remembering Krishna, then one is in a state of pure love for the Lord, where the external ups and downs doesn't matter at all. It is just temporary. Sometimes one might get things which one wants, and sometimes one get things which is totally opposite to what one wants. But a pure devotee of the Lord, there is sama dukkha sukhe kritva, labha labha jaya jaya. So this is the pure devotee of the Lord has got that equanimity of mind. It does not. The pure devotee is not concerned about all the different transient experiences that one gets in this material body. But the mind is always fixed on the Lord. Savai manah Krishna padaravindeya vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane karau hare mandira marjanadishu shrutim chakara chyota satkathodaya mukunda lingalaya darshane drashav. So this is mentioned about Srila Ambarish Maharaj. So it is said that his mind is always focused on Krishna. Savai manah Krishna padaravindeya, Krishna's lotus feet. Whenever he's talking about Vachamshi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane. He's talking about the divine transcendental qualities of Vaikunta, the spiritual world. Karau Hare Mandiram Arjanadishu. His hands are always cleansing the temple of the Lord. Shrutim Chakara Chyuta Satkathodaya. He's always talking about Krishna Katha. So this is the Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane Drishav. He's always seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord. So this is the mind and the senses, when they are engaged in loving devotional service of Krishna, one is in a natural state of existence. The natural state is that, because one is eternally part and parcel of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada gives the example of if this finger is helping us to take, and if one is not having with the hand, food with the hand, maybe one is having with a spoon as well, or one is using knife and fork. But the fingers are always used. And if the finger is thinking that I won't give the food to the stomach, it just says that no, I will have it myself. It is in an artificial condition of life. And exactly the similar way, if the living entity is trying to get all the sorts of innumerable sorts of enjoyment and just enjoying the all through all the senses, but not appreciating that all this is provided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yatta pravritti bhutanam yena sarvamidam tata swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. So Srila Prabhupada actually mentions about the Bhagavad Gita shloka as well. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the person can achieve the highest perfection of life simply by awarding the results of his occupational duty onto the devotional service of the Lord. That is a verse that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, quoting there in that sentence. Yattah pravritti bhutanam yena sarvamidam tata. So yattah pravritti bhutanam. pravrittim cha nivrittim sa janana vidur asura. So this pravritti is the activities that one does. So whatever activities one is doing, yatta pravritti bhutanam yena sarvamidam tataha. And whatever is existing in this whole universe, swakarmana tamabhyarcha. So whatever work one is doing, one should give it as a yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjuhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that give it as an offering to me. Yat karoshi yadashnasi. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're eating, yajjuhoshi dadasi yat. Whatever you're giving, yat tapasyasi. Whatever penances you're doing, yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Give it as an offering to me. That is the real religious principle. When one can karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phale heturbhur mate sangotsva karmani. So as Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that the only thing that the living entity has to do is do all their activities very nicely and at the end offer the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Don't be bothered about what result is going to come. A result could be good, okay, so some kind of good experiences will come. Result might be bad, that's fine. Some kind of bad experiences will come. But my most important responsibility is to do the activities that I'm supposed to do. So this is Jnane Prayase Udapasya Namanta Eva Jivanti Sanmukharitam Bhavadiya Vartham Sthane Sthita Shrutikata Tanuvan Manobhir Ye Prayase Ajita Jitopi Asita Istrilokyam. So this is mentioned by Sri Brahmaji in Bhagavatam. Sthane Sthita Shrutikata Tanuvan Manobhir. Brahmaji is saying that one does not, of course, when one reaches that state of existence where one can just engage in pure devotional service and nothing else, of course, that is the best thing to do. And Narad Muni also says that there is yatra ko va bhadram abhuda mushakim ko vartha apto abhajatam swadharmata. So Narad Muni says that Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer bhajan apakota pate tato yadi tatra kwa abhadram abhuda mushakim ko vartha apto abhajatam swadharmata. So if one gives up one's own occupational duty and surrenders onto the Lord 100%, and somehow or other one falls down, there is no loss. But what is the gain if one is doing all the normal activities but not developing attachment to Krishna? So, and that is the most important aspect. So here we can see from this verse, nṛṇāṁ sādhāraṇo dharma saviśeṣaś cha yādṛśaḥ śreṇīnāṁ rājarṣīṇāṁ cha kṛcchreṣu jīvatām. Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliations of human society, as well as their specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of the social orders as well as administrative royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress. So here, indirectly, in this question, the fundamental of Bhakti Yoga is present. Because all that, whatever the common religious affiliations of human society, the specific occupational duties in religion, which is the classification of the social orders as well as the royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress, everything is, the foundation of everything is bhakti. Because the goal of doing any kind of activity is how much we are understanding our real nature. How much are we peaceful in the present moment, regardless of what circumstances are coming? If we can be in that state of mind, peaceful state of mind, regardless of we getting an experience that we want or we getting an experience that we don't want. If we can have that peaceful state of mind, if we can have compassion for all the living entities, then that is the real religious principle. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshuje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So the last words there, yayatma suprasidati, is extremely important. So in our original condition of loving devotional service to Krishna, we will be totally blissful, always, regardless of whatever circumstances we are in. And that bliss is totally different from any kind of sensual experience. Sukham atyantikam yattad buddhigrayam atindriyam veti yatrana chaivayam stitas stalati tattvata. Because that blissfulness is based on the experience of transcendental love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it transcends the modes of material nature, it transcends the sensual experiences, it transcends the material mind, because it is based on our original eternal existence as an eternal part and parcel of Krishna. With that, I would like to conclude this discussion. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Budale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyata Desha Tarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Krishna Madharastu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.